Democritus, the atomist who revealed the invisible world. Democritus of Abdera was one of the most important pre-Socratic philosophers, best known for his atomic theory. He lived in the 5th century BCE, and his ideas had a profound influence on Western scientific thought. Democritus atomism. Democritus' atomic theory represents one of the earliest and boldest speculations on the nature of matter. According to the Greek philosopher, everything that exists, from the largest celestial body to the smallest speck of dust, is composed of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms. Atoms in the void. Atoms move in an infinite void and combine in various ways, giving rise to the infinite variety of things. Properties of atoms. Atoms are eternal, indivisible, solid, and lack sensory qualities, color, taste, etc. Sensory qualities result from different combinations of atoms. Mechanical causality. The movement of atoms is governed by mechanical laws rather than final causes. The philosophical implications of atomism. Democritus' atomism had deep philosophical implications. Materialism. Democritus was a materialist, meaning he believed reality was exclusively material and that everything could be explained in terms of matter and motion.
This radical idea, ahead of its time by millennia, marked the beginning of our quest to understand the universe at its most fundamental level. Democritus, an ancient Greek philosopher, argued that the universe is made up of two fundamental things: atoms and the void. His ideas were revolutionary for his time and laid the groundwork for what we now understand as atomic theory. Atoms, he believed, are tiny, solid particles, infinite in number and eternally existing. These particles are the fundamental building blocks of all matter, the essence of everything we see and touch. They are indivisible, meaning they cannot be broken down any further. This concept of indivisibility was crucial, as it suggested that there is a limit to how much matter can be divided. These atoms, he argued, come in various shapes and sizes, like building blocks in a cosmic construction set. Each shape and size contributes to the different properties of the materials they form, but atoms alone are not enough to create the diversity of the world around us.
The movement of atoms was determined by causal laws, implying a deterministic view of the world. Nature of knowledge. Democritus distinguished between true knowledge, based on reason and understanding the nature of atoms, and apparent knowledge, based on the senses and misleading. Comparison with other philosophical schools. Pythagoreanism. While the Pythagoreans viewed numbers as the principle of all things, Democritus postulated atoms as fundamental elements. Both sought to explain reality through rational principles but used different conceptual tools. Eleaticism. In contrast to the Eleatics, who denied becoming and multiplicity, Democritus affirmed the existence of the void and movement, explaining becoming as the result of the combination and separation of atoms. The comparison between Democritus and Epicurus atomism. Epicurus, a philosopher after Democritus, adopted and developed atomic theory with some significant modifications. Klineman. Epicurus introduced the concept of Klineman, a spontaneous deviation of atoms from their straight path, to explain human freedom and randomness. Happiness. Epicurus centered his philosophy on the pursuit of happiness, achievable through knowledge of nature and freedom from fears, particularly the fear of death and the gods. Hedonistic ethics. Epicurean ethics is often defined as hedonistic, though in a moderate sense. The pleasure to be pursued comes from a simple life without excess, based on friendship and wisdom. In summary, while Democritus emphasized the material nature of the world and the laws that govern it, Epicurus used atomism as a foundation to build an ethical philosophy aimed at human happiness. Certainly. Let's analyze these interesting aspects of atomism.
This idea, though ancient, resonates with modern scientific understanding and continues to inspire our quest to understand the universe. Democritus's atomic theory was not just a scientific model, it had profound philosophical implications. His ideas were revolutionary, challenging the very fabric of the society he lived in. The notion that everything in the universe is composed of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms was a radical departure from the traditional beliefs of his time. If everything is made of atoms moving randomly in the void, then there is no need for gods or supernatural forces to explain the natural world. This was a bold statement, as it directly contradicted the prevailing religious and mythological explanations for natural phenomena. The idea that the universe could be understood through reason and observation alone was a cornerstone of what would later become the scientific method. This materialistic view challenged the religious beliefs of his time, suggesting that the universe operates according to its own inherent laws. It implied that the cosmos was not governed by the whims of deities but by predictable, natural processes. This was a significant shift in thinking, moving away from a world where gods controlled every aspect of life to one where natural laws reigned supreme. Furthermore, if everything is determined by the movement of atoms, then free will becomes an illusion. This deterministic view suggested that all events, including human actions, are the result of atomic interactions. This idea was unsettling to many, as it seemed to undermine the concept of personal responsibility and moral accountability. This deterministic view, while unsettling to some, offered a consistent explanation for cause and effect in the universe. It provided a framework for understanding how and why things happen, from the simplest natural events to the most complex human behaviors. By tracing everything back to atomic interactions, Democritus's theory offered a unified explanation for the workings of the world. Every event, from the fall of an empire to the flight of a bird, could be traced back to the interactions of atoms. This perspective allowed for a more systematic and scientific approach to studying the world, laying the groundwork for future scientific discoveries. It suggested that by understanding the behavior of atoms, one could predict and explain all natural phenomena. Democritus's atomism also had implications for how we acquire knowledge. He believed that true understanding comes from grasping the underlying atomic reality, rather than relying solely on sensory perception. This was a significant departure from the traditional emphasis on empirical observation as the primary source of knowledge. He argued that our senses, while useful, can be deceiving. Sensory experiences are subjective and can be influenced by various factors, leading to misinterpretations of reality. For Democritus, the key to true knowledge was to look beyond the surface and understand the fundamental atomic structure of the world. True knowledge, he believed, comes from understanding the underlying atomic reality, the invisible world that governs the visible one. This idea laid the foundation for the development of scientific theories that seek to explain the unseen mechanisms behind observable phenomena. It encouraged a deeper, more analytical approach to understanding the world. These philosophical implications made atomism a radical and controversial idea in ancient Greece. It challenged the established order and provoked intense debate among philosophers, scientists, and religious leaders. The idea that the universe could be explained without recourse to divine intervention was both liberating and threatening, depending on one's perspective. It challenged the very foundations of religion, morality, and human understanding. By proposing a universe governed by natural laws, Democritus's atomism called into question the role of gods in human affairs and the basis of ethical and moral principles. It forced people to reconsider their beliefs and the nature of reality itself. Yet, despite the controversy, Democritus's ideas continued to resonate, inspiring future generations of thinkers. His atomic theory laid the groundwork for the development of modern science and philosophy, influencing figures such as Epicurus, Lucretius, and even later scientists like Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein. The implications of atomism continue to shape our understanding of the universe and our place within it, demonstrating the enduring power of Democritus's revolutionary ideas. Democritus's atomic theory did not exist in a vacuum. It was part of a broader tapestry of philosophical thought that flourished in ancient Greece, a period marked by intense intellectual activity and debate. It emerged during a time of great intellectual ferment in ancient Greece, where various philosophical schools offered competing explanations for the nature of reality. These schools were not just academic exercises. They were attempts to answer fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, and the cosmos. Atomism, with its emphasis on materialism and determinism, stood in stark contrast to some of these schools. It proposed that everything in the universe, from the stars in the sky to the smallest grain of sand, was composed of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms. One such school was Pythagoreanism, founded by the mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras. The Pythagoreans believed that numbers were the fundamental principle of the universe, the key to understanding harmony and order. They saw mathematical relationships as the underlying structure of reality. The Pythagoreans' focus on numbers and mathematical harmony was a stark contrast to Democritus's focus on atoms. While Democritus acknowledged the importance of mathematics, he saw atoms, not numbers, as the building blocks of reality. For him, the universe was a vast, empty space filled with countless atoms moving and interacting in a deterministic manner. This deterministic view was revolutionary because it suggested that all phenomena, including human thought and behavior, could be explained by the interactions of atoms. It was a materialistic view that left little room for the spiritual or the mystical, which were central to many other philosophical schools of the time. Another contrasting school was Eleaticism, founded by Parmenides. The Eleatics denied the reality of change and multiplicity, arguing that the universe is a single, unchanging, and indivisible entity. They believed that change and diversity were mere illusions, a view that was fundamentally at odds with the atomistic perspective. Parmenides and his followers argued that true reality was eternal and unchanging, and that our sensory experiences of change and diversity were deceptive. This philosophical stance was a direct challenge to the atomistic view, which embraced change and diversity as arising from the constant motion and interaction of atoms. Democritus, in contrast, embraced change and diversity as arising from the constant motions and interaction of atoms. He believed that the universe was in a state of perpetual flux, with atoms constantly moving, colliding, and combining to form the diverse phenomena we observe. These philosophical clashes demonstrate the intellectual vibrancy of ancient Greece, a time when thinkers were not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom and explore radical new ideas. The debates between different schools of thought were not just academic, they were passionate and often contentious, reflecting the deep commitment of these philosophers to their ideas. Atomism, though controversial, was a testament to the power of human curiosity and the enduring quest to understand the universe. It represented a bold attempt to explain the natural world in purely physical terms, laying the groundwork for future scientific inquiry. The legacy of these philosophical debates continues to influence modern thought. The questions they grappled with about the nature of reality, the role of mathematics, and the possibility of change remain central to contemporary philosophy and science. In this way, the intellectual ferment of ancient Greece continues to resonate through the ages, reminding us of the enduring power of human curiosity and the quest for knowledge.